All right, guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to be going over an article here that talks about how it is expected that there's going to be a surge of divorces and divorce filings the second the country starts to really reopen up after all the quarantines and everything. Now, obviously it's different state to state, but by and large, it is expected to surge. And this particular article is coming from California. This is a particular law firm in the San Francisco area that's talking about this and has been interviewed. And it's going to be really interesting to see how things go, because now I did an article about this about 6 to 8 weeks ago, and it said back then, dealing with New York, how filings and how lawyers are being contacted because people are losing their minds being stuck in the house with their spouses all that period of time. And what was, I guess, considered to be somewhat bearable before, when they wouldn't see each other too often, now after being stuck together for months on end, people are losing their minds and said, that's it, I'm out of here. And so I find this great because I know most people are married or miserable. So I want people to be happy. So I see this as a second chance, in particular for all the guys that have been stuck in this bad situation. A clean slate's coming, so to speak. So title of the article is Divorce Attorneys Brace for Spike After Coronavirus Quarantine Ends. It says here, lots of people have joked there will be plenty of babies born 9 months after the shelter-in-place order is lifted, or a bunch of divorces. Divorce attorney Jason Hopper of Cordell & Cordell in Sacramento is betting on the latter. Yeah, I mean, you first heard about this back in March, how divorce filings in China were going through the roof because they were a few months ahead of us, because this all started there. And then you started hearing about it in Italy and other places in Europe, and then you started hearing about it here. And now, as things are starting to be lifted in different states and so forth, it's going to go through the roof. 2 weeks ago, his company, which operates in 120 locations across the country, received 800 divorce consultation calls. Last week, it was 913. That's a lot of calls for this one law firm. His firm even started producing how COVID-19 may impact your divorce videos and podcasts. He says, people are looking at each other and getting a preview of what their retirement looks like, Hopper said, adding that his firm gears its divorce expertise to men. And unfortunately for a lot of folks, they're finding they don't really like it. Yeah, I mean, you're in a marriage and it's pretty much either just boring or just really bad as it is, and then you're stuck in the house with the person nonstop, you'll lose your mind. Even if you're living in a big mansion, you're still stuck together with your spouse and you go freaking crazy. I can't imagine what that's like. Fortunately, I have friends that, obviously a bunch of friends that are married. I haven't heard anything from them yet. I haven't heard them bitching about their wives, but I'll find out sooner or later. But these are also tough guys. Most of my friends are honestly in pretty good relationships, so I'm really happy for them. But also, they're not the type that are going to whine and complain about anyway, or even bitch about it. So, but we'll find out later on. He added that he typically sees an uptick in divorce calls in times of economic stress. Money and finances might be the straw that broke the camel's back, he said. People often cite these struggles as the reason. Yeah, that's a big reason a lot of people end up splitting up money. It says here, like vacations, graduations, and dinner parties with friends, divorces have been on hiatus. Hopper's business is booming, but the number of actual divorce filings in civil court doesn't reflect the emotions and challenges that struggling married couples are now facing, at least in many parts of the country where courts have been closed. Yeah, so for the last few months, even though normally in a certain time of year you have a lot of filings for divorce and so forth, they've been down low because obviously courts are closed and things like that. But now as things are going to start reopening, and I know it's different all throughout the country, it's going to be really interesting to see the articles that are popping up about this in the coming months, in the summertime. He says here, in the Bay Area, divorce and dissolution legal filings are way down since mid-March. Judges have been hearing motions for emergencies like cases of domestic violence. Things have slowed down, said Oakland divorce attorney Deborah Dobroff, but I don't think it's because people necessarily want to stay together. Oh, hell no. In Contra Costa County, divorce filings have averaged about 3,000 during the 2-month period between March 1st to May 1st. For the last 5 years, a review of data shows. This year, there have only been about 300 in the same period, 1/10 of normal. And that's because obviously all these businesses are closed, law firms, things like, well, law firms are open, people are working from their homes, but still it's not the same. Courts are closed. In Santa Clara County, the number of divorce filings was down by 30% during roughly the same time period this year compared to last. And overall, civil and family court filings were down over by roughly 70% in that same time period. Well, I can't wait to see what it's going to be like come July and August. The Alameda County Superior Court system has no meaningful numbers, a spokesman said, because they stopped accepting filings a day after the shelter-in-place order and only recently started up again. In many California counties, divorce filings are accepted by Dropbox or mail, but not online. Placer County is one of the few exceptions that offers e-filing. Beginning on Tuesday, courts will begin accepting these filings in person in Contra Costa County, but court spokesman Matt Malone said, "We anticipate long waits." I don't care if that line was a mile long. If I was stuck in the house, if I was married and stuck in the house, and I was completely sick of her and wanted to get out, I'd wait all day and night to get that thing filed. It's worth it compared to the hell that you're stuck in the house with a crazy wife that you just want to get away from at all costs. Here's a quotation saying, "Some people are feeling frustrated with who they are living with. They're asking themselves, what path am I on? Is this the person I want to spend the rest of my life with?" A lot of people are talking like that. Valerie, a 40-year-old Oakland woman who asked her that her real name not be used, said she is in one of those waiting periods. So it goes both ways. Both men and women are doing this. And usually, traditionally, it's women that file for divorce the vast majority of the time. Okay? But we may have in a situation like this, more guys are going to do it. She and her husband decided to separate before the outbreak, but the virus had put several kinks in their exit plan. Valerie said she and her husband had hoped to share the house that they live in with their son, with each of them rotating in and out of the home. But because of coronavirus, they could no longer ask to sleep on a friend's couch. When their son got sick, both parents decided they needed to stay at home under the same roof so not to infect anyone else. And when her husband got furloughed and eventually let go from his job, they decided not to separate their money, at least for the time being. This is just really an unstable time, she said. So imagine that you're just about to separate. Okay, things are bad enough that you're out of there, and then this thing happens, shelter in place, all that, and then you got to be stuck in the same house for months on end, not really knowing when it's going to end, even though you were just about to split up. That's got to be ugly. I'm going to hope that because obviously they said they have a kid, they kept things civil, but kids are not stupid. Kids can sense things, you know. Let's see here. Many couples are feeling this instability, Dubroff said. One woman called from her basement to speak to her privately about getting a divorce. She had nowhere else to go in her house, and that she's still sharing with her husband. So people are sneaking off in parts of the house, in the basement or attic or wherever, to make phone calls to their lawyers to get the ball rolling. We are definitely living in interesting times, guys. In her experience, Dubroff said that a crisis often makes people stop and think long and hard about the choices they've made in their lives. She says, some people are feeling frustrated with who they are living with. She said, they're asking themselves, what path am I on? Is this the person I want to spend the rest of my life with? Yeah, that's a serious question. Again, life is short, guys, and this is why, I've said this before many times, I'm anti-marriage. I want people to be happy, but this whole ridiculous nonsense that you can find the one, because there's only one person for you out of 8 billion people on the planet, or in our case, if you're a guy, well, depending on your situation, 4 billion guys, 4 billion women. So out of all those billions, only one for you. It's nonsense. Complete nonsense. And then you're going to live happily ever after. It's total crap. You're better off being on your own, and if you want to be with somebody or have company and hook up, just date regularly, and when things start to get boring, when the honeymoon period's over, move on. That's it. That's what I do. I think that's the best thing anybody can do in this situation if they're not dying to settle down and have kids and a family and all that. And you can have kids and not be married, but as long as rules are set in place and so forth in terms of payments and things like that. But being married, being stuck with the same person forever, it just doesn't work anymore. It is not the days of our grandparents anymore. says here, but even if this answer turns out to be not this person, Dubrov said, it's pretty difficult to disentangle yourself from the marriage at this current point in time. Oh, hell yeah. People are losing their jobs. People are uncertain as to when they're going to start working again and how long this is going to go. It's a mess. If you're living with someone 24/7, it's hard to leave immediately, she said. Many couples, she noted, are likely staying together during this crisis largely out of economic necessity. Yeah, you got to survive. Dubrov said there is an overwhelming practical matter of divorce, paying for it. People are losing their jobs in this economy, she said, adding that paying for 2 rents on one or no income, especially in the Bay Area, can often feel like an impossible task. I've never been to San Francisco, but I've heard it's insanely expensive to live there. I have a client, her first job was working for Intuit out there that makes QuickBooks, and she was making a very good salary by what's considered to be a very good salary. But even then, it barely paid the expenses. She eventually got out of there and moved back to Massachusetts. It's not cheap living in Massachusetts, especially in the Boston area, but it's definitely a lot better than San Francisco, from what I've heard. Goes on, when the recession in 2009 hit the country, Dubrov said that divorce filings didn't drop off, but people end up representing themselves in court. Divorce is expensive, she said. It's hard enough to support yourself on one income. People just don't have the money right now. Similar scenarios are playing out across the country, from the Bay Area to New York City, from Sacramento to Ohio. Now, the video I did about 6-7 weeks ago, that was dealing with New York, and a lot of very wealthy people in New York, and that was interesting because they had enough. Dubrov doesn't expect the dearth of divorces to last forever, and she looked to China as a harbinger of what's to come. Marital separations there surged in March, as people emerged from weeks of mandated stay-at-home orders, according to reports, even though there is no evidence that these unions were rock solid before the outbreak. And she's quoted saying, "I'm expecting a huge spike in filings. I told my staff, enjoy this time off. After this is over, we're going to be slammed." Oh, I can imagine. I guess I'm in the wrong line of work. I guess I should have become a divorce attorney because there's always business. So, all right, guys. Thought you'd enjoy hearing that. So, guys, be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And let me know, do you happen to know anybody that is in this situation? Do you know anybody that's just foaming at the mouth, waiting for the chance to get out and be able to file for divorce and get away from their crazy wives? I'd love to hear about it. Tell me your stories. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time.